It's another wonderful day.
Yes, it is.
And we are here.
Yes, we are.
Welcome, everybody, to the Homewrecker Podcast. I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion. I've been joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique. Monique, how are you today?
Hello. How do you think I am?
Well, you're gorgeous.
Aw,
Beautiful,
thank you.
lovely, amazing.
Well, I'm awesome, I'm fabulous, I'm wonderful, I'm spectacular.
We're going to eventually run out of adjectives and have to start recycling
Yeah.
new ones.
I'm
Or
super wicked
old
awesome.
ones, I should say. You're super. All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Terrific. All right. Well, we're here for another exciting fun as I destroy my little area here is just
Having
a
some
mess.
technical difficulties.
Yeah, I'm just knocking into my microphone, having all kinds of issues. All right. So what's new with you this week?
New with me this week.
Yeah, anything fun, exciting?
Planting things, checking out insects outside. I like bugs. They're cool.
Yeah.
You make fun of me for it.
I don't make fun of you for it, but you're enthralled by these things. And
They're fascinating creatures.
They
and
just take you, they like suck your attention completely.
they do, because when you can get up close to like insects and you get to see what they look like from really up close and all the details,
Yeah.
there's a lot of neat stuff about them. And so many people are freaked out by bugs, but I look at it like nature's giving me a gift and showing me these sweet little things. That's a part of it, and I'm thankful.
Okay. What was it, yesterday or the day before? You were coming home from the grocery store, or you'd gotten home from the grocery store, and I came outside to help you bring in some groceries. And you were like, look at this cool, I don't remember what it was, like beetle or something.
It was,
on the
yeah.
stairs. Look at this cool thing. I'm like,
It was really cool, but I didn't get to like inspect it to see what it was because you gave me a hard time. And
no, I was
okay.
like, no, I just want to get the groceries. Is that okay?
I like to look at them. I like to learn about it. If I don't know what it is, I like to read about it. I have a book on insects, and I like to look stuff up.
Look, you've had a very positive influence on me in that I don't squish bugs anymore like I used to. I used to just, if I'd see an ant or a spider, just be like, okay, squish, get rid of it. Now I do what you do. You take it, you bring it outside. I don't talk to it. I don't have a conversation with it like you do, so you haven't gotten to me in that way yet. But I will take it and I'll just put it outside and say, all right, get out of here. Go. Leave.
It's better than killing them.
All right, fair enough. So you've gotten through to me in that way.
I was just putting you over. You're like, all right, fair enough, moving on. I was like,
it's better than killing them. You're right. Okay, fair enough.
I was trying to give you credit.
Well, thanks for that.
I was saying
I don't
it's a
need
good
your
thing.
credit. The faces you make. Yeah, so I just, all right, like they're great. They're insects. I'm not enthralled by them, but I'm not like disgusted by them or anything. But I'm not like, I don't know.
Like
They don't fascinate me like they
if you
fascinate
stop
me.
to think about like flies, people think, oh, it's just a fly, but there's like different types of flies, and some have like an iridescence to them, like the regular house flies, and they're really cool looking, and some are more like a matted, darker color, but they're pretty neat. And I think if people can get over the icky factor of some of them and just really look closely at them, you can find admiration for how they're made, their colors, like the different designs, things that protect them in nature.
You know what's kind of funny?
What?
This thought just popped in my head. Those same people that are like, ooh, icky, gross, probably eat foods that contain insect parts or...
Well, think about mealworms.
Yep.
Mealworms. It's because they would ground them up and put them in food for like extra protein and texture as like filler. I forget what kind of beetle it is, but there's a beetle that is used a lot when you see like natural colors. If there's red, it's from a certain beetle. So it's not vegan by any means, but it doesn't say that on the label anywhere. And it's like from a beetle.
Yeah.
Squishing its insides to get that pretty red color.
It's kind of... Yeah. It's kind of gross. But again, like I said, it's kind of ironic because they say people are like, oh, bugs, bro. Probably eat.
They just don't know
They
it.
just don't realize it.
I mean, if you look at other countries, they eat bugs.
Yep.
It's a food source. So worms and different large bugs because it's protein.
Yeah, it's true. The human body needs its protein. So take it any way you can get it. Right on.
Yeah.
So are we going to talk about bugs this week, or what are we doing?
No, but speaking of eating bugs, it comes up in our topic today.
You know what it does?
Yes.
This was not planned, I swear, but it does definitely.
It
does
popped in my
factor
head like,
It does
whoa, wait a
factor
minute, that actually.
What a segue.
Yeah. But before we jump into that,
Yeah.
is there anything you want to discuss?
Not really. No.
You just love keeping it to yourself.
It's not. What am I going to discuss? I mean, I'm just going to go off on like a tangent about something that's bothering me in the world today. One of millions of things. Yes, I do keep to myself a lot, but there's a reason for it.
We'll have a segment, What's Not Bothering Alex in the World Today?
That would probably be a better, that would be a good one. What's not bothering me?
Remember.
Well, you don't bother me, so that's good.
Thank goodness for that, because we'd be in a whole world of trouble if I did.
There you go. But yes, no, you're right. I do keep to myself a lot with a lot of things because I don't feel it. What's it going to matter if I go and complain about something or talk about how I hate this or that? What's that going to do?
Well, I wasn't looking for you to complain about stuff. I was just wondering if there's anything like positive you want to talk about, interesting you wanted to talk about,
interesting and positive,
fun.
Interesting, fun, or positive? Well, we've decided we're fully homeschooling our kids. I think that's kind of a positive thing.
Yes, it is.
And it is fun. I was talking to you earlier about how, you know how when you were in school and teachers, like for example, you had like an aha moment when you got something, like you grasped something that was like a difficult concept to grasp, right? You finally the light bulb went off and you clicked for it. It's a cool moment, and I can remember some of my teachers in school where I had like aha moments because of something they said or the way they positioned a certain topic, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, I get it. And I was saying to you, it's pretty cool. Like I'll name two of my teachers, Mr. Rosenthal, who's an English teacher I had in high school, and he like said a lot of things that just made me go aha, and the light bulb went off, and I got it. I got what he was talking about. And there was another guy, Mr. Sanderson. He was another teacher in high school, who also happened to be an English teacher. And just something they said, it was like a concept that I couldn't grasp, something with, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like, oh, I had that aha moment. I remember being in their class and something they said, I was like, oh, I get it. Those are just two that pop right to mind, but those are now moments that I get to have with my kids. I get to see them have their aha moments. So I just think that's
nice.
It's kind of a cool thing, and like especially with just what's going on with everything and how they're, in some parts of the country, they're not even opening school. In other parts, they are. Where we are, they are opening schools, but they're doing like a weird
hybrid kind of thing. And kids can't. When you have little kids, to say little kids can't go near each other, they have to stay 6 feet away. It's very unrealistic, and that doesn't really serve much, especially for like schools that don't have a lot of space or places to play things. Like one school's like, well, they can play tennis. It's like, well, you know, inner cities usually don't have tennis courts.
Well, I don't want to get into like all the pros and cons. I'm just saying, where we are, we've made the decision. The last 3 months of this past school year, when all this hysteria went on and everything closed down, we had to do everything from home, and it was just kind of eye-opening to me. And this is not meant to knock teachers in any way at all, because most teachers, I'd like to think, care about the kids and actually want to make an impact in their lives and be a positive influence on them. I think that, especially for the school where our kids were at, absolutely. Any teacher that we ever had an interaction with, top-notch, great people, really had the kids' interests at heart. But I saw that it was just kind of like when they said, well, they're going to go back, but it can be all remote learning or half remote, half in school. It was kind of like, look, I was doing everything anyway. I was making sure that he was looking at his lessons and doing. I'll just do it myself.
There was no checking of the work.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to do that now, but it's like the stuff that they were having our son do, he already knew most of it. I'm like, this is what he's been learning? Like, he knew all this when he went into kindergarten. Like, he already knew all this. So I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it all now. That's it. We're going to handle their education. And I think that for a couple of people that I've seen or spoken to, they're kind of waking up to that too, that have kids, and they're, unfortunately, not everybody's in the position where they can just do that for their kids and homeschool.
And it's not easy.
But I mean, it's kind of being forced on a lot of families because if you're doing a half hybrid, half in-person model, that's kind of,
or a
half remote, half in-person model, and they call it the hybrid model. It's kind of like, well, whether you want to or not, you're going to have your kids be doing remote learning. Some people, so.
Well, what families can try doing is if they have friends whose kids are in the same class and they're dealing with the same thing, maybe start your own, homeschooling group where you maybe alternate days where the kids go and teach. So you might be teaching 3 or 4 kids, but then you get like a day or 2 off.
Well,
and then they can go do group stuff as well. There's a lot of options out there. Homeschooling used to be really taboo, but now it's definitely opened up more.
Yeah, I think that we can look at that as a silver lining to this whole hysteria that's overtaken the world. Yeah. Holes in the education system are now more apparent to parents, I think. And again, I'm not saying like where our kids were, because I loved all those teachers. I loved the program they were in and everything. It's just this hybrid stuff is not going to. If they're going to be doing remote, I'll just, you know what, it's fine.
And not just that, but if they can't play with kids at school
yes,
and they have to be separated, then they're not really getting the socialization they need. So we'll just put them in separate things.
Exactly. And the whole socialization thing, I know that's always been a knock on homeschool. Look, you're not just sitting in your house all the time with your kids if you're doing homeschool. I don't want this to turn into an episode about homeschooling, but you go out into the community with kids. That's where people learn. That's where you learn socialization. You don't learn it in a classroom where you get to sit there and then the bell goes off and you go to lunch or recess or your next class when you're in upper grades. That's not how's that socialization? You got to be quiet, raise your hand to talk. Like, that's socialization skills. What are they learning other than just being in the same room with other kids? Exactly. So instead of being one of those people that says, the education system's indoctrination, blah, 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 and complaining about it, we decided to do something about it. We're going to homeschool. That's it. So it's a great thing. That's a positive thing. It's something that I'm very invested in, doing it with our oldest son, and he's been doing fantastic with it. And it's also another positive to it is kids can work at their own pace. And you'd be surprised. Our oldest will sit for hours on a subject that interests him. And it's funny how now all of the subjects he's doing interest and he's excited about learning.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. And we don't put pressure on him or anything like that.
He does an awesome job.
Yeah, we have structure. We have structure in place. We have structure that we do for our youngest as well. Our middle son, excuse me, and then we have a younger one. He's not just, he's learning, but he's not quite to the let's do some schooling stuff yet. But yeah, I just feel like this is how it should have always been, in my opinion. But the way society is structured, it's like almost impossible for a lot of people to do. So yeah, that's a positive thing.
See, we found a positive thing for you to talk about today.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really I'm excited that we're going all in on that with all of our kids. So I think hopefully it'll be. I feel that they're going to be just fine.
I think they're going to do awesome.
They're very intelligent. I think all kids are intelligent, and that's kind of the point, right? When you're a parent, you have kids because you want to raise your kids so they're better than you, smarter than you, they make better choices than you. That's the goal, I think, right? I don't know.
Learn from your mistakes.
They hopefully learn from your mistakes. Hopefully. So there you go. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't want to get into a preaching session or anything like that.
Today, we're talking about a movie.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about something else, but then we watched this movie and we were like, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, and the way we started was we were just looking for something to watch. Just kind of you and I, because we do a lot of stuff with our kids. We watch a lot of movies from yesteryear that we like, and some new stuff occasionally, but we very rarely watch anything just for you and I, because it's, we got young kids, so you can't really watch.
And by that time we throw on an episode of Psych and fall asleep 10 minutes in.
Yeah, that's been the norm lately. But, it is what it is. So we, last night, kind of messing around on, we used Vudu and Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
This was on Vudu. We found in the free movies section there. A classic. I think it qualifies as a classic now.
Classic.
I think it definitely qualifies now.
Yeah.
I think, what year did this movie come out?
1988.
Okay, and
Yes.
it's starring
Nicolas Cage.
one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yes, I love me some Nicolas Cage. Yes, I love him. He is awesome.
The movie we're going to talk about is Vampire's Kiss.
Yes.
And we watched the trailer. I'd never seen this movie before. I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know anything about it.
There are very, a lot of popular, memes and stuff with, scenes from this movie with Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
I'm not into the memes and all that.
And, different GIFs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Is it GIF or GIF? How do you say
It's
it?
a GIF.
It's a GIF, right?
GIF.
Right, but G could also make the GIF sound.
It could, but it's GIF. And I don't care what anyone says, I'm right.
I'm asking, I'm asking because I'm not sure if it's GIF or GIF. I say GIF, but what? Yeah, so this movie, we watched the trailer and we're just it was between this and something else. I can't remember what the other movie was.
It was about a portal in a shower that keeps stealing shower curtains.
Yeah, what's it called? The Gateway or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a shower, and it just had some kind of portal in it.
Yeah.
It's still a shower curtain.
I'm sure there's more to it, but from the trailer.
We're going to watch it, don't you
That's
worry.
pretty much what we got out of it. But then I'm like, all right, that's the strong maybe. Let's move down and see what else they got. They have 7,000 movies or some ridiculous number. And we moved down and Vampire's Kiss.
I was like, yeah, that's the Nicolas Cage movie.
I'm like, all right, let's watch the trailer. We watched the trailer. All right, let's watch this.
Yeah, we gotta watch it.
It just looked insane, just his mannerisms and everything from the trailer.
I have to say, so basically, let's just kind of talk about what it is. This is about Nicolas Cage. We'll do a really brief one.
Why? Go ahead.
Well,
yeah, brief is fine.
Nicolas Cage is a publishing executive. And
is that what he is?
Yeah, he works in literature, and he does something with books and contracts for a publisher. So
okay.
yeah. And he goes out one night and picks up a woman who is a vampire, and then he thinks he's a vampire. And you can see how his mind is very off, and especially towards the end, becoming more and more convinced he is a vampire.
It's essentially this guy's slow descent into madness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I was saying, can I do the Nicolas Cage face with the eyes wide open?
I can't do it. I can't do it justice. But he did
a phenomenal job.
I mean, yeah. I told you this after the movie was done last night. I'm there was parts where I laughed, and there's other parts where I'm am I supposed to laugh at this? I'm not sure. I told you that after it was done, this is a movie that I have a feeling when I watch it again, I'm going to like it even more.
Mm-hmm.
And if I watch it again, I'm going to like it even more. It's one of those where you watch it, the more you watch it, the more you appreciate it and enjoy it.
Watch it knowing absolutely nothing about it, it's going to be kind of confusing because you're going to be what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, but I think that's the point.
Yeah, but, and again, so part of the character, Nicolas Cage's character, Peter Lowe.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. His accent. Nicolas Cage donned this accent for him where you'll notice it kind of changes too. He tries to make himself, I think, sound like Thurston Howell III from Gilligan's Island.
Okay.
Trying to sound very high class, hoity-toity, educated.
Right.
And then it kind of he'll slip out of it and almost talk normal, but it almost is reminiscent of someone from California, the Valley maybe, talking that way, and almost a mix between Thurston Howell and a Southern accent and a little more of an English accent all at once. It's pretty incredible.
He kind of goes in and out of the accent.
Yeah,
too.
And I think that's on purpose to show he's trying to impress people, trying to be all fancy
When he's putting on the accent though, there's a couple parts where I was what'd he say? What?
Well, that's kind of an issue
him.
because his voice gets kind of low when he's talking at times, and with the accent, it's difficult to understand what he's actually saying, and you're Huh?
Yeah, I
What
almost
was
want to
that?
watch it with closed captions on so I
Yeah.
can see what he's saying. So maybe next time we watch this movie, we can
Yes.
do that.
Because there will be a next time.
Oh yeah, at some point, absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely. At first, I'm like, what's going on with this movie? And then like the crazier he gets, you're just like, whoa. It's like almost like a train wreck. If you don't look away, but it's so bad. But that's kind of the genius of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be going crazy. He did a hell of a job portraying that, I think. One of my favorite parts in this movie is when he is in with the therapist and they're talking about. One of the running themes is he's got she is a secretary, assistant, something,
Yes.
paralegal, whatever she
well,
is.
secretary.
Secretary,
Yes.
yeah. Paralegal would be for a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's a publishing guy?
Yes.
Okay. So, this lady, the
So
secretary.
Alva, and that's
Alva,
played
sorry.
by
Maria Conchita Alonso.
Yes, Maria Conchita Alonso.
Yeah.
Who you may know from Running Man and Predator 2.
Yes. She is tasked with looking for a contract, some publishing contract that he's looking for. And he doesn't know where it is, but he says it's got to be in the Der Spiegel file. I think Der Spiegel's like a German magazine, like a real one. And he tells her to look for this file or whatever, or contract. She can't find it. And he, constantly is badgering her. And, as the movie goes on, the more insane he gets with, his demands of her.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets, more and more sadistic and evil. And just the stuff he says to her, you're like,
but it's
what?
it's funny. It's very manipulative because he'll do stuff to her where he tries to lull her into a false sense of security. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do that. Let's call a truce. Gets her, to come back to work or something, and then he goes off on her. And it's like, wow. He, follows her into the ladies' room. She's, afraid of him.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Rightfully so. I mean, as the movie goes on, what is this guy doing?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's one of the running themes, and he ends up. This part I was a little unclear on. He definitely physically assaults her.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm unclear on whether or not he actually went through and raped her.
He did.
He
because he even says it.
He says it, but it didn't really.
Well, I think that was because of the movie. They
Illustrate.
probably didn't want to
No, I know that, but.
go graphic, maybe.
I mean, the movie's rated R. They were pretty graphic with a lot of the other stuff they
Yeah,
showed. So
true.
that's why I was a little unclear on.
Well,
whether
it
or
seems
not.
like I just figured maybe he assaulted her, and then he got off her because he's going crazy, and while it's
Yeah.
happening, coming into clarity or not. But
Yeah, he's going in and out of madness. I guess.
he gets moments of what the hell's happening.
Yeah.
And then slips back in, and I was like, well, he looks like he's totally dressed, and I don't know.
Yeah, you never saw.
But
him.
then he says he did it, and
He
it
says
makes
he
it
did
seem
it.
like.
But when you see her, it almost looks like he just beat her up.
Yeah, and
Punched
it's
her.
funny because.
Or was it? I can't remember the specifics. He either punched her or slapped her. I can't remember what. But she ends up with a black eye.
Her face is all
Yeah, she's
bruised
all
up.
bruised up and everything. Yeah, which not cool, obviously. But oh yeah, maybe it's a little late for this, but spoilers. We're obviously spoiling the hell out of this movie. I know
Yeah.
Parsh just said this earlier, but it's a
1989.
89 movie, so yeah.
Or no,
spoilers.
1988. So
Yeah, spoilers. We're going to talk
before we talk about more, if you haven't watched it yet, watch it.
Yeah, just watch it. And even if you hear this and you haven't seen it, you have
Oh
to
my
watch
God.
the performance of Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage does such an amazing job. I'll let you go.
You sure?
Yeah.
Positive. You gonna let me go? Okay. Thanks. I'm about to make a point and jump in. And I'm like, okay, I'll back up.
Because we forgot to mention something. But go on, make your point. No, make your point, because then I'll go back to what we forgot to mention.
I was gonna go back to how I was starting. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when he's in his therapist's office and talking about the filing. And this is when I got off on this is the running theme of the movie. He's talking about this, what's her name, Alva?
Yes, Alva.
Okay, he's talking about Alva, his secretary assistant, whatever she is, and how she can't find this file, and he needs this file. You find out kind of partway through the movie that the person that he needs this file for calls him and says, you know what, I know I asked you to give me it, but I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. When you get it, no pressure. And he's on the phone with this guy as this Alva chick, woman, is in the room.
He makes her stay right there.
He makes her stand right there while he's on the phone call with this guy. Because he's like, you have to hear me now give a song and dance to so-and-so about why we haven't found the file yet. And so the guy's telling him on the phone, yeah, no big deal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, yep, okay, thanks. Gets on the phone, he's like, as you can hear, I couldn't get a word in edgewise because he's so irate and upset. And you're just like, ooh, wow, he's really messing with her now. Because he could have just been like, it's not a big deal, find it when you find it, but I need it, kind of thing. Could have said that. But instead, he's like, we gotta find it. He just goes off on her. And you're like, what's going on? That's when I was like, okay, what's happening here? And then that was kind of like the start of the descent. But this now, back to my favorite part of the movie, he's talking to his therapist about Alva and how she can't find this file. And so the therapist is trying to be like, well, maybe, did you think that it could have been misfiled? Maybe you can't find it because it wasn't put in the right file. Maybe somebody put it in a different file and you're looking in the wrong place. How could you misfile it? And he just goes off. And he's like, it's very easy, alphabetical. And then he goes through the entire alphabet, like yelling, A, B, C, D, like all the way through. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to stop at like F, right? Nope, keeps going. All right, he's going to stop at T, right? Nope, all the way to Z. Like, and it was so awesome. Like, you could either call that awesome acting or just horrible acting or
awesome.
So bad it's awesome acting. I don't know which one it falls into.
Nicolas Cage is playing a crazy person.
It's memorable. I'll say that.
Yeah, because that's something like a crazy person would do.
Yes.
But having dealt with looking for something that has been misfiled, you're like, how the hell could this get in the wrong file? How did it get in here? Like, and it's so frustrating because when I worked in veterinary medicine, I had to do that. We had to look for a misfiled file for a patient. We ended up finding it. It took a long time. But when you have thousands of files to go through and you're just like, clear as day, how do you not put it in the right thing? So I actually kind of related to him a little bit there, but I wouldn't have gone that far.
Well, that's the thing with it. You can relate to it because it makes sense. What he's saying makes
kicks it up a notch.
He
so good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
so great.
It's memorable.
Now we have to get back into what you suspect is the decline for him. It starts off with him and he's talking to his therapist about a girl I guess he's dating.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's kind of a dick because he really likes her, but then after he slept with her, he just wanted her to get the hell out of his apartment.
But he didn't actually sleep with her, though, did he? They never.
Well, he said before, during the therapy session, we had a hard time hearing.
Okay.
And then he goes out with her again, they come back to the apartment, start fooling around, and a bat comes flying in. And they end up going somewhere else. So it's assumed they slept together. Then what seems like either the next night or within the next couple of nights, he's out again. And that is where he meets the vampire, played by Jennifer Beals.
Who doesn't shave her armpits.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I'm like, are her armpits not shaved? And was that done on purpose? I don't know. So Jennifer Beals, he ends up meeting her at a bar. He hits on her, and which shows the kind of guy he is. If he is dating this other woman who he really likes, he's still going out hitting on other women. Alrighty then.
He's not married.
I know.
It's all good.
Just saying, shows the kind of person he is. So he takes her home and starts fooling around with her, and she bites him, and she sucks his blood.
We think.
Well, yeah, we think.
We think.
Think that's what happens.
That's what is shown, but
is that really
what's happening?
But it all starts kind of going from there because what seems like the next day he aside from having a conversation with her, pouring her coffee, and this happens throughout the movie, there's nobody there. So you get these glimpses. So it's like...
You get these
you get these glimpses of what is allegedly actually happening compared to what he thinks is happening. So maybe in his mind, she's a vampire, sucked his blood, but then they're showing, like, there's nobody there, so maybe it didn't happen. Maybe he met her in the bar, and that was it. Or maybe you did sleep with her, but that was it. That's the great thing about this movie. You don't know what is real.
Yeah.
And so this was a part I really liked. So following the night with the vampire, he goes out with his girlfriend again. What's her name? I have to look.
Doesn't matter. He goes out with the girl.
Jackie.
Okay.
So goes out with Jackie again. His kind of girlfriend. And they're at an art gallery. And they come up to this piece and she's like, so what do you think about this? And he's just standing there. He's like, I have to take a piss. And he takes off and he leaves her there at the museum.
Total baller move. He just leaves her there.
And she's waiting around. Just, what's taking so long? Like, how long do you wait for somebody until you realize they're gone?
I don't know. So yeah, that's
I love that part though.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because you're just like, what?
The way he did it too wasn't like, I have to use the bathroom, I have to... Not even like, I gotta go take a piss, just, I have to take a piss. Like, just so, like, not giving zero fucks about anything else. It was great.
Yeah, he just didn't care.
Yes.
It's like, whoa, alright.
Yeah. So this movie has these different character dynamics because you have Nicolas Cage with his therapist, that dynamic.
Yeah.
You have him with Jennifer Beals, the vampire. You have him with his somewhat girlfriend Jackie, and that. And then you have him with Alva at work. And it's like all these different characters come into play, and the only one who feels like they're actually really there is Alva and Jackie. So those two characters, you feel like, okay, they're really there, but you question, is there really a therapist?
I would say there is really a therapist, yes.
I would hope so, for that character's sake.
Yes. I think that the therapist is there for the first half of the movie, but what you're witnessing towards the end of the movie.
Definitely at the very end, you know, it's not real, but then it makes you question everything, just with everything that happens in the end.
Again, we may watch this next time and I may have completely different opinions, and I may pick up something that I missed on first viewing of it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that the therapist is real, except for the part at the very end. When you realize kids get nuts.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But that also makes me wonder too, because at the very end, what happens at the end, is Alva's brother there or not? I couldn't tell, because after everything happens at the very end of the finish of the movie, the brother's not standing over him or anything.
I thought he got out of Dodge.
It didn't show him. That's why I'm saying it's kind of like.
But I think that would also be a really cool thing to do, make even that questionable. Did he actually stake himself at the end, or did Alva's brother do it?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure about any of that. Was we say we think Alva was there the whole time, but was she? We don't know. Again, gotta watch the movie again.
Yeah.
We're
going to watch it again tonight.
Maybe. But yeah, that's the thing. I'm not really sure. I gotta watch it again to try to look at it now a little bit more critically instead of like the first time watching it, not knowing what's going on. Being like, what is this? What's happening?
Another part that we mentioned a little earlier, talking about in his apartment, there is a scene where Nicolas Cage, there's a cockroach running on the stove.
Yeah.
and he's like trying to get it, pick it up, he grabs it, and he just eats it. He pops it in his mouth, and he starts eating it. Now, from what I've read, Nicolas Cage really ate a cockroach, and apparently it took 3 takes, so he had to eat 3 cockroaches. That is method.
That dude is dedicated.
Right?
If true, that is a dedicated guy.
There were animal activists who got up in arms over it, and I guess his response was, well, have you ever used raid in your house? Which, okay.
Yeah.
I look at it like, part of me is like, oh, you killed a creature, but again, people eat bugs all the time. It's considered a food source in other countries. And, yeah, I mean, it's not like it probably suffered. People use bugs to feed their pets. So to get upset about it, I don't know. He just popped in his mouth, quickly died. It wasn't like the animal was tortured.
I'm just amazed that people were upset about him eating a cockroach in a movie
Really?
in 1988.
People get upset about anything.
I said in 1988.
I know. Yeah.
If it happened today, it wouldn't shock me at all. People get upset if you breathe funny. But I mean, for 1988, there was animal rights groups that were going after him for that.
Mhm.
I just thought that was a little surprising.
Yeah. Speaking of 1988, let's talk about some of the people in the movie, how they're portrayed, trying to help Peter Lowe, Nicolas Cage's character. Everyone in New York seems so nice in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's walking out of the diner, and he's like, kind of bending his head because, he's in pain. And this old guy, are you okay? And there's another scene, he drops his groceries, and this guy comes running up, hey, are you all right? He's picking up his groceries, helping him, and we're just like, 1988 New York, everyone is so friendly.
Yeah, that definitely was, that's not accurate. That was like one of the most violent times in New York City history. It was the 80s. The 80s and the early 90s, early to mid-90s was really violent in New York.
And it's like, did they do that on purpose to show the madness? Maybe that wasn't really happening. I don't know.
Possibly.
That's the great thing about this movie. It makes you question what is really supposed to be happening versus what's all in his mind.
Yeah.
Very clever. And with the cockroach scene, there was then the pigeon scene.
Yeah, that was gross. I mean, you don't see anything, but just the implication was just pretty gross.
Nicolas Cage is outside. He's in the city chasing these pigeons, trying to catch a pigeon.
Yeah, chasing a pigeon, Rocky style. Well, Rocky chasing the chicken. Was it a chicken?
I think it's chicken.
Whatever.
But he's chasing it, and he catches it, and he puts it under his coat, and goes home with it.
And apparently eats it raw.
Consumes it. Drinks its blood. They don't really show its.
Well, they don't show any of that, but you see the feathers all over the floor and everything, and you see what appears to be the mutilated carcass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
We gotta get towards the end talking about some of the best parts. This guy believes he's a vampire. So what does he do? He goes to a metaphysical shop and gets vampire fangs.
This part's awesome, yeah.
The ones he wants, the nice fiberglass kind that are more realistic looking, he can't afford because he doesn't have enough cash.
Shipped there $19.95.
Yeah, $20. Can't afford it. Doesn't have the cash on. But he has credit cards. He asks what costs less, and he gets those Halloween plastic one piece that bend in your mouth, white vampire fangs.
You know the vampire fangs every kid has played with at
during Halloween.
Yes.
Yes, those.
So great.
He gets those, and he puts them in his mouth, and then he really starts to embody Nosferatu.
Yes.
He's just he's walking in, and he has that character, the way he has his arm and his hand movements, and his chin up, and the look in his eyes. It is fabulous.
It is good stuff. Yeah, he definitely went all in on this for sure.
Yes, he did, and it was great.
But I loved it because he's running around New York City, and I guess I was reading the trivia on the IMDb that he was running around and telling people, I'm a vampire, and it wasn't actors, it was actual just like pedestrians
People on the street. So it was real reaction.
And they filmed it from like far away,
Mm-hmm.
so that people didn't realize they were being filmed. So he's just running around, I'm a vampire, and people were just looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And that was legit reaction.
All I keep thinking of, this movie must have been so fun to make.
I think that Nicolas Cage said it was his favorite movie he's ever done.
Yeah, I read that. And I get, like...
It makes sense, yeah. I can see the guy's probably goofing around the whole time. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah.
The plastic vampire.
Yes. And so he's walking around telling everyone he's a vampire. And I'm just thinking of the different scenes in my head. For the people who are listening, Alex is kind of mimicking it, so you can watch it on YouTube or Brighteon.
Yeah.
But he goes to a club, and again, it makes you question what's real, what's not, but it seems to be real. He's at this club, and there's some girl alone in the back end of the club,
like the
closed off areas.
Yeah.
She's doing coke, and he walks over, and
She's doing coke?
Yeah, she was...
Is that what she was doing?
Yeah. I assume she had like a little teeny tiny spoon.
I've never done it, so I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was.
Okay. All right.
But it looked like, okay, I'm assuming she was doing drugs, I think.
Okay.
She was on the drugs.
I thought she was just hanging out by herself in the back. That's why I was like, is this real?
No, because she was putting stuff to her nose and sniffing.
Okay.
I don't think it was glue. I'm assuming it's coke, but I don't know.
That was the 80s. So.
She was doing the drugs.
All right.
And he comes over and he's telling her how he's a vampire, and she's laughing because she's high. She doesn't know. And he goes on to bite her and drink her blood. Yes. And you're just
but
like...
he had the plastic vampire
He
teeth
had the plastic
time.
vampire teeth, and you're just like, how does that work? It's great.
Yeah. So he must have bit her really hard.
Yeah. Well, obviously, because they show, like, he gets up from her and there's like blood just spurting out of her neck.
He runs back out through the club. Or no, don't they kick him out of the club?
No, because he goes to like this other section, maybe like the coat area, and who comes by?
Oh,
His
that's right.
vampire mistress.
That's right. He sees the
Yes, and so yes, so
She
Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling him how he's pathetic, and because there's a scene earlier where she's like, tell me you love me, and he's kind of like, just somewhat comatose from having his blood sucked out, but yeah, like, he's like, I love you, and then he's like, I love you, and I like you, and she's like, you disgust me, and then she finds some other guy. This is in the club, yeah. And so she's like, you disgust me, and some other guy shows up because he's like, we're together, and this new guy comes over, he's like, no you're not, or something. And they walk away. So he follows them, and he's like, just calling her out, she's a vampire! And then that scene makes you question, because she's like, who are you? Peter, right? And it makes you question, was this woman a whole hallucination? He met her at a bar once and then just happened to see her at the club again? You don't know. And again, I think that's the genius of it.
So then he gets kicked out of the club.
He gets kicked out of the club. Mm-hmm.
But nobody discovers this woman until, I guess, way later.
He's got blood on his face. He's got blood on his shirt.
Yeah, it's like covered in blood.
Totally not suspect at all.
Nobody says anything about that. They just kick him out. Hey, get out of here, buddy. And he's like, I'm a vampire. They're like, yeah, okay, go find a coffin or something.
Yeah.
Yelling the stuff at him. It's like, all right, great.
But yeah, so then he's wandering around, and then the sun starts coming up, and he's like, I'm gonna die. I can't do it justice trying to imitate it.
So absurdly awesome.
It's so great. It's so great.
Yeah.
And he wanders around, and then the best part is he walks into, like, there's this big building, and part of the wall, it's like New York's, like, building structures are really cool, like the way it's designed, so it's not like a regular, just flat building. And he's walking, just boom, walks into the building, And then he starts having a conversation with his therapist, and you're kind of going in and out. You're seeing what he's seeing versus what's really happening. Oh, I forgot to mention, as the sun's coming up, he's trying to, there's this crate, and he takes a piece of wood, and he's trying to get people to stake him. So he's walking around New York carrying this big piece
I'm a
of
vampire,
wood.
kill me. And apparently this was not to actors. He was walking up to pedestrians saying this.
Some of the people, I think, were actors, like the church scene, where he walked up and was trying to get them. Those were actors.
All right.
But yeah,
Some
a lot
of
of
the
people just
were
walking by
professionals.
were like...
Well, this is what said on the IMDb
Yeah.
trivia, so whether or not it's true.
But yes, the people walking by, and they're just looking at him like he's crazy. So he walks in, bumps into the building, and starts having a conversation. And in the conversation, though, he's still holding the big stake of wood, which is great. And then you just see him, some dude who's all disheveled with, dried blood on his face and shirt, carrying this big stake of wood, just having a conversation with the wall. It was great, the outer part of the building. Again, if you haven't watched this, you need to see this film.
Obviously we're going to both highly recommend you see this movie.
Yes.
Especially
And
Monique with how much she
I'm
loves
just
it.
my mind is rewinding to it and
It's
just
so great.
thinking of these scenes is
Best movie
hilarious.
ever. It's so funny.
That's great.
It was very...
Ooh, as I knock my mic over now.
Easy.
Smack it.
Easy over there. Take it easy.
Okay, now.
So yeah, it's
all excited.
very, very well written movie. I'm going to say it was very well acted.
Mm-hmm.
He's nuts. He's nuts. It's a great depiction of somebody's descent into madness.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very well done.
There are a lot of scenes where you start to think oh my gosh, he's so overacting. It's ridiculous. But if you really watch the movie and understand it, he's supposed to be crazy. It's the point you have to overact because you have to show how crazy this guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few French fries short of a Happy Meal.
Just a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was there anything else about this movie you wanted to talk about?
Do we want to touch base about the end? We kind of talked about it already, but just to clarify.
Oh yeah, the Alva character is assaulted. We are led to believe it's rape, but we're not really shown that, which is fine. I don't need to see that. But she lives at home with her parents and her brother.
And I just want to say, she lives at home with her parents, and there's one day she calls out sick because her boss is so horrible. He made her stay late. She was there till 1 in the morning, and she doesn't want to go in. Her mom's like, "You think I like my boss? You have to go to work. You have to pay your share, and you need to go to work." Doesn't even want to hear about what's going on. Not how the dude chased her and followed her into the ladies' room or anything.
Well, because she didn't tell her mom any of that
But
stuff.
her mom doesn't give her a chance to even well, what happened?
So she lives at home with her mom, as I was saying, and her dad and brother.
Mm-hmm.
And she has locked herself in her room after she was assaulted. Oh, well, her boss, Nicolas Cage, went to her house when she called in sick, went to her house and brought her some soup because she called out with a cold, a really bad cold or something. And so he says, "Oh, she has a bad cold, huh? Okay." Leaves the office, gets in a cab to go get her at her house. Shows up at her house. She's ironing or something, and she's in her bra. And he just shows up at her house, and he's
looking in the window,
knocking on the window. And she's in a bra, just kind of "Oh, what are you doing? I'm gonna call the police." And he's like, "I heard you were sick. I brought some soup." And she's like, and then he does the whole, "I'm sorry," blah, 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 starts manipulating her, starts to, kind of suck her back in by being nice to her. It's the textbook abusive relationship, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so she ends up letting him in, they talk for a few minutes, she agrees to go back to work go back into work, and they'll take a cab together. They stop at a garage where her brother works.
Well, they stop there because she gets in the cab, and he's basically, because he said, "Oh, don't," at the house, he's like, "Don't worry about that file, it's not the end of the world." They get in the car, and he's like, so you're going to find that file, right? And she's like, I thought you said it was all set. It's not the end of the world if I don't. But we still need to try. And he's just like totally going back on what he said to her. It's like he just said what he had to get her in the car. And he starts flipping out on her.
So they stop at this gas station or garage,
Mm-hmm.
not a gas station, excuse me, garage. While they're on the way back to the work, she asks to stop. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
My brother works there. I owe him money.
Yeah, I gotta stop and give him some money or something. She goes in, she has a gun that she carries with her for protection, but we find out that she doesn't have bullets for the gun. She just has it in case somebody comes up, she can pull it on. Okay, fine, I guess that could work, but what if somebody doesn't care, they come at you anyway, what are you gonna do? Throw the gun at them? But anyway. She doesn't have bullets for this gun. She goes and she asks her brother for bullets because this guy's crazy, blah, blah, blah. Kind of fills him in a little bit. So the brother's like, well, all I have is blanks. So he fills she's got a revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Fills it with bullets. They're blanks. Again, not sure what the point of that is, but anyhow. It all kind of ties in and helps to further descend Nicolas Cage into madness. So they get to, do they go back to her work?
Well, they go back to the work, and she sees late again,
that's right,
and she finds the file.
Yes, she finds the file.
Finally finds that file.
Finds that file that is not even that important, we find out. And she's like knocking on his door. This is when I realized, okay, but Rachel, the vampire thing, is not real. Because he's in his office with the door closed, and it shows him getting his blood drank by Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's knocking, and he's just kind of like sitting there,
just taking
the blood suck. I don't know what you call it, but he's just sitting there like.
He's feeding her.
Yeah, I guess that's what you call it. And he's ignoring her. Does he finally let her in? Does
Well,
she
he finally gets up.
in?
No, he opens the door. She's like, I found it. I found the file. And he's like, it's too late. And she's like, what do you mean it's too late? I got the file.
I got it. I found it. Yeah.
It's too late, and that's kind of what stems. He starts chasing her.
He starts chasing after her. Yeah, but that's when he opens the door, you realize there's no Rachel and there's nobody else in there. That's because you're seeing what Alva is seeing. So you're like, okay. That's when I went, okay, so the vampire, this is completely, she is not real, this vampire Rachel woman.
Yeah, and there are other scenes like he's taking a shower and he's just talking to nobody. He's like, oh, come on, you want to come in? Oh, it's like there's nobody there.
Right, but it's the scenes where you see Rachel where I'm like, okay, so she is there, and then the parts where he's talking to nobody, I'm thinking, okay, so she's there sometimes, but he's like so obsessed with her and going crazy that he talks to her when she's not there too. Like that's what I was thinking, but apparently the way I took it was she's never been there. That's the way I took it by the end of the movie. But anyway, he starts chasing Alva, and she pulls the gun on him. They're like in a hallway or something.
They're like, I think they went down to the basement area.
Yeah, okay. But they're in the building.
They're in the building.
Their work building. And she pulls the gun on him. He's like, shoot me. Just shoot me. Help me. Shoot me or something. Because he realizes he's going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he's a vampire. And so she does. She fires the gun. But she fires it at the ground. So he's like, not at the ground. At me. Shoot me. And so she fires it again, but again at the ground. And this is, I think, where he punches her or hits her. Mm-hmm. This is when
he gets her, he hits her.
We think the rape takes place.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like he kind of comes into sanity a little bit.
Yeah, like he hits her, he's on top of her, but I can't, again, there's no simulated thrusting or anything, and you never see him go and, like, undo his pants or anything like that. So that's why I'm like, did he really sexually assault her? I don't know if a rape occurred or if it was just a physical, anyway. So he takes the revolver because she's out cold now. Either she's out cold or she's just been so traumatized that she's like a vegetable, plain dead. I don't know. But she's not moving. And so he grabs the revolver and sits down against the wall and he puts the gun in his mouth and he pulls the trigger. Bang. But it's blanks. So he's like...
Does it again.
So he pulls the trigger again, shoots himself again.
And he spits the bullets out.
Spits the bullets out.
Yeah, remember it came out of his mouth?
How can a bullet come out of his mouth? It's a blank.
I know, but they showed it like a blank instead of a cartridge. They showed him spitting something out. So maybe that was his mind, what he was thinking?
Perhaps. But anyway, he shoots him. So obviously, this is further giving him reason to believe that he's a vampire because he just shot himself twice. He doesn't know they're blanks. He has no idea that they're blank bullets. And so
I mean, he thinks he's pretty immortal.
He now thinks he's definitely, I'm a vampire. I just shot myself twice in the head and I'm fine. So, yeah. So, yeah, the descent continues from there rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Now, were there any other parts you wanted to talk about this movie? Because I know we've been kind of scattered with it.
Yeah, but that's how we move.
It's how we roll, baby. Was there anything else? Any other scenes you wanted to talk about?
His acting is just, there's so many parts where he's just like, he'll be talking normal and all of a sudden he'll just go, hey, that's that, and he'll like make a gesture and point and like get real loud and you're like,
he jumps up on the
whoa!
desk.
Like, whoa, where'd that come from? Because he's just talking normal and then he just gets insane, like out of nowhere. You're like, what the fuck? One of the secretaries or office workers even comments to Alva at one point in the movie, like, he's so eccentric. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's one word for it.
That's so
eccentric.
nice. That's such a nice way to put it. It's so nice of you to
Eccentric.
see that.
This guy's fucking out of his mind. There's, again, I want to watch it again because I really feel like this is one of those movies where I'm going to end up watching it a whole bunch of times and I'm going to end up liking it more and more each time. Just the sheer, I guess you could say, genius of it. And it is classified as a comedy, right?
Yes. I feel like it's one of those crazy, like a Fox movies.
It's a black comedy for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's parts where I was like, am I supposed to be laughing? What? I don't know. Is that supposed to be funny?
I was laughing at it.
Yeah, you definitely were laughing, like, right off the bat. And I'm like, wait, what? Because I was just like, what's going on? But by the end of the movie, I realized, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense now. It's this guy's, it's documenting his descent into going insane. And I guess it's open for interpretation whether or not he was really bit or he just went crazy for whatever reason. So, yeah, no, I mean, that's really all I get to say is we gotta watch this movie again.
Yes. And we hope you do too.
Yeah, if you haven't already, the movie came out in 1988, so I don't know what took us so long to watch another thing, but we finally got around to it, and I'm glad we did. It was definitely entertaining.
Yes, it was.
If nothing else, it was entertaining. So, yeah, good stuff. Now, we talked, Nicolas Cage has got this, he's got a rep for being kind of outrageous. I want to say that it must have stemmed from this movie, right? Because, I mean, like if you look at some of the other movies he's done, he did that movie Face Off with
John
Travolta,
Travolta,
right? I think in that movie he was like, wasn't he the good guy in that movie?
Yeah. I thought so.
Or he was the bad guy, but then when they switched faces,
Then
he was the good guy. I haven't seen him in a while, but I remember in that movie when he was the bad guy, and he was like over the top nuts too. So he kind of, when he plays a villain, he gets into it. Did you know he was going to be Superman?
Yes.
That 2006 movie?
Was it 2006? Because I remember there was an actual Superman, and they did like the costume on him and everything.
Yes, that 2006 movie, Brandon Routh ended up playing him. But it was supposed to be Nicolas Cage. And I think it was supposed to be Superman Lives, I think was the name of the movie. I'm not sure why it didn't happen.
I thought he was going to be Superman, but there's no budget. Like, it lost its budget or ended up getting scrapped.
I don't even know why I brought it up, because there's actually a whole documentary that was made about that movie. It's called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, and Kevin Smith was involved with it, and there was a couple other people. Yeah, I have it somewhere. Like, I burned it online years ago. I have it somewhere. We gotta watch it.
Well, one Nicolas Cage movie I want you to watch with me is Raising Arizona.
I've never seen that.
I love that
but
movie.
I heard he's nuts in that too, isn't he?
He's gonna play nuts.
Like over the top, kind of. No? Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
I think he does a great job in the movie.
I mean, he's in so many movies. Like, holy.
I think I think his biggest movies are the National Treasure movies, but
are those his biggest?
That's what I would think. Like,
I like those movies a lot. I'm a big fan of yours.
Well, think about it. It's kind of like adults and kids can watch it. It's a Disney movie.
Disney movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see the box box office successes and the hits and misses of Nicolas Cage.
He's
Con
a versatile
Air.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Carn. Yeah.
Look at Nicolas Cage's hair in Con Air.
Con
What was it?
Air.
Accent in Con Air.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yes.
Hey, Hummingbird.
Oh,
It's like
man.
so good.
Yeah, he's
I love Nicolas Cage.
yeah. He does so many. It's like
He
has so many
seriously
movies.
commits to that role, and it's awesome.
He's been in so many movies. Does he have like financial troubles or something? Like, why is he in so many?
I
movies?
remember reading something about he bought bought a lot of real estate because he didn't want to put his money in banks. So
Okay.
then remember when the housing market crashed?
Yeah.
He ended up losing a lot of money. So then he kind of went back on that.
Is that
But he
what it is?
used to own like a lot of different properties.
Okay. So
But didn't he buy like a dinosaur fossil or something, like a skull or something? Then he had to
we got
return
ripped
it.
off.
Well, but he had to return it to the country because it was like smuggled illegally.
I never heard that story. But if he bought a dinosaur fossil, he was ripped off because there's no such thing. That's another show.
That is another show.
But yeah,
Moving
no,
on.
he. Okay, so he did run into some kind of financial trouble, right? Because isn't that why he does so many movies?
I don't know if that's why.
Or is it just he just loves acting that much that he's in every movie? The guy's in so many
Good
movies.
for
I've never.
him.
No, it's great. It's good for him. It's right. I mean, I didn't know if that was why because he went bankrupt.
Doesn't
or
he have a lot of ex-wives too?
something. He's been married 4 times. I looked at his IMDb this morning.
Good for
4
him.
times. His most recent marriage, I think, lasted like 2 months last year,
Hey,
2019.
He
He was
loves
married
to
from like
love.
March to May or something like that. Yeah. Hey, good for him. I don't think he has any kids.
yes, he has kids.
He
and I
does.
think he became a grandfather.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't there a video of him, and was it like Vince Neil outside somewhere in Las Vegas, and they were drunk, and Vince Neil was like pissed at some woman or something? He was like pissed off at somebody. Nicolas Cage was trying to like calm Vince Neil down.
I don't. You know more about that TMZ.
It
those
was like
type of
on social
stories.
media,
Oh, again,
like a Twitter a video, and I'm just like,
no idea.
thought I showed you.
I don't recall
You
it.
blocked it out.
You may have. I don't remember it.
That happens
Right.
a lot with him. I'll tell him something. Totally will act or seem like he's listening and having a conversation about it with me, and then he doesn't remember.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I always listen to you. Come on. I always know what you're saying. I remember everything.
You remember
Mine like a steel trap.
Yeah.
Leave this thing. Yeah. So Nicolas Cage is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, this definitely check out Vampire's Kiss. It's
Yes.
worth the watch if you
Mhm.
haven't seen it already. Again, a 1988 movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, go check it out.
if you have Voodoo, it's free.
Yeah. And for those of you that have seen it, and maybe haven't seen it in a while,
Watch
and
it again.
maybe didn't appreciate it the first time you saw it or didn't, just go watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth
Yes.
it. I find that we've been watching a lot of older movies
Mhm.
lately. So
Back when they were good.
what's that?
Back when they were good.
Yeah, and it's fun going back now, being our age and watching movies that we watched when we were in our teens or
Kids.
and watching them now and just realize, oh wait,
How much you pick up on as you
yeah.
get older.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like you remember parts, but then like, wait, this is what this means. Or, wait, and you know, but you have those light bulb moments.
You're like,
like 20 years ago.
that's what that
Oh,
meant.
that's what that
Okay.
means.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fun. And now going back and we're watching a lot of, like I said, a lot of movies with our kids too. Not Vampire's Kiss type movies, but more family friendly type stuff. And even that, I'm watching some of them like, oh, it's very.
Is this safe? It's like,
Yeah.
it went over my head as a kid. It should go over theirs. Hopefully.
Pretty much, but it's funny, like a lot. It seems like, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the stuff that you could get away with many years ago
Oh,
in
yeah.
a PG movie, you could never get away with now.
Oh, no.
So yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean,
It's PG. There's swearing in it.
oh yeah, there's like there's topless women in some movies. I mean, it's not gratuitous, but you'll see like a flash of boobs or something. Oh, speaking of, that's right. In Vampire's Kiss, getting back to
Pasties.
Yeah, one of the first things I noticed, and I'm like, it's hard to miss. Is it the first time that she sucks his blood, or one of the whatever?
Yeah.
It's a couple of times you see Jennifer Beals on top of Nicolas Cage sucking his blood, feeding, whatever you call it, and she's topless, and she's in her underwear, just kind of laying on top of him. He's just sitting there, getting his blood sucked, and you see, like, clear as day, the pasties over her nipples. Like, it's...
But it wasn't even, like, just her nipples. It seemed like it took, like, most of her boob, too.
Yeah, it was, like, flesh-colored.
Yeah.
So, obviously, when a movie gets transferred to high def, you're going to pick up on this stuff. But, I mean, at the time, nobody even noticed it. You probably couldn't even tell. Yeah. So that was one thing I noticed right off the bat. Like, as I said, you're like, yeah, look at it. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, good. I'm not the only one that noticed it. It's like right there.
And again, another thing was we mentioned her not shaving her armpits. She like lifts her arms up, and we're like,
yeah, both of us at the same time.
Did
she not shave her pits? Like that's kind of.
That's like, was that done on purpose for the movie? I would think, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
because it looked like she shaved her legs.
Yeah, and then I think in like a couple other scenes, she looked like her pits were shaved.
Yeah. So was it just the lighting?
I don't know. It could have been, but there's one shot in particular where she, like, her arms come up for something. I can't remember what she did, but her arms go up and you see it. Maybe, yeah. And you see it and you're like, whoa. Wasn't expecting that.
Right?
So, anyway. Yeah, the pasties.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier.
That's Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, good stuff.
It is.
So check it out if you haven't
yes.
already. We highly recommend it. We're going to watch it again.
And if we mention something that we questioned and you know the answer, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I know I read a little bit too, some of the IMDb, they do comments, if you can leave a review, rate a movie, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. There's tons of them in there. I only skimmed through a couple, but there was a lot of people giving it like 10 stars. And one of the funnier ones that I saw said that the movie, Vampire's Kiss, is, for this person that wrote the review and their friends, it's a relationship tester for potential girlfriends or boyfriends. They make the person that they're interested in sit and watch the movie with them, and if they laugh, they know that they're good. If they don't laugh and they don't get any of the humor, no go.
That was one of the things in IMDb. Nicolas Cage, I guess, said in a magazine interview, because he said he loved that movie, and he said that he had a female friend come over, and he put it on for her, and she, left during it. She, didn't want to watch it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was, appalled. She wasn't into watching it.
It's tremendous. Yeah, no. But it's kind of cool, though. I mean, that people...
If I was hanging out with Nicolas Cage and he put that movie on, I'd be, looking at him and, the screen and him and being like, oh, my gosh, that is awesome!
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. That's what somebody put as a review. You have to. This movie's genius. And
so I guess I passed that test.
I guess I would too. I laughed,
yeah.
but again, I didn't laugh as fast as you because I was more confused. Did I just see that? Did that just happen? Because it's so out of the blue when he gets crazy.
But that's the great part.
No, it is, but it's just took me off guard. What just happened? And then when it happens again, you're like, oh, okay, this is good. This is great. But yeah, the first couple times I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So it just kind of caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I just got the Vince McMahon, it's good shit.
Good shit.
Yes. That just popped
good
in my head.
Shit. Yes. My Vince McMahon story.
Yeah. I cannot do a Vince McMahon impersonation.
I can't do it. Whatever.
That's okay.
Yeah,
so let us know.
Let us know. Reach out to us on our social media and let us know what you think about Vampire's Kiss, the cult classic Nicolas Cage flick. We got a Twitter account.
We do, at Homewrecker Pod.
Instagram.
Homewrecker Podcast. Parlor. At Homewrecker Podcast.
And the website as well.
Homewreckerpodcast.com.
That's right. So hit us up on any of those and let us know your memories, your thoughts about Vampire's Kiss. I just have a feeling we're going to get some interesting comments, some fun ones.
I hope so.
I really, yeah, I hope so too. But I just have a feeling we're going to get some feedback on this one.
I'm curious, like, how many times, like, people who have watched it, how many times they've watched it. Are you watching it for the first time because we're talking about it?
Yeah, let us know all that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
please.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to get some feedback on this one. Hopefully, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But for all of our listeners, we appreciate you. And if you have not already, please head on over to iTunes or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts and hit the subscribe button. And can you get a minute, please? If you don't mind, and you'd be so kind, leave us a 5-star review. And if you really want to, you can go ahead and write up a review too. Tell everybody what you think of the show. We appreciate that feedback.
Nice.
Yeah, yes, as long as it's nice. Please don't bury us. It's not fun. Come on, be nice. It doesn't cost you anything to be nice, right?
And we're all about the positivity and kindness.
Yes, especially my wife, especially Monique. So please, say something nice just for her, at least. Whatever. If you want to say, like, Monique is so awesome. That Alex, he's kind of not a fan of his, but listen for the wife. That's cool. I'm fine.
No.
I'm totally
I was just
fine.
thinking, like, you're like, yeah, my wife, all about positivity. Yeah, the one who, like, talks to bugs.
And birds. Earlier today, you were talking to birds.
Well, I have a little bird friend. So every time I go outside, this cute little bird, and I'm not sure what kind it is. It's kind of gray and it has a little red, and it's really cute. I call her Stella. And she...
You've named this bird?
Yes, I call her Stella.
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Okay. So, because I figured you'd just make fun of me.
So you wait till the podcast so you can say it so that I won't make fun of you?
Yes.
This is the best time to make fun of you if I'm going to do it. All right.
Anyway, so
Let's hear about
every
Stella.
time I go outside, whether like it'll be first thing in the morning or in the afternoon, every time I'm outside, she like sings to me. She's like she makes this bird noise trying to get my attention. And it's kind of distinct, and I'm like, is that my little friend? And I'm like, where are you? And I look around, and she's always like on our fence usually. That's where she hangs out. And if I have a hard time finding her, depending on where I am. Yeah. And she'll like pop over to get closer so I can see her. And she'll just kind of squawk a little bit, and she'll like say hi to me, and then she goes off.
What kind of bird is
I don't know. I just said I don't know. She's like gray with like kind of like a dark beak and a little bit of red under her tail, like an orangey red under her
So
tail.
not a robin. Because we get a lot of robins.
We do. She doesn't, I don't know. She doesn't really seem like a robin, but I'd have to look it up. But yeah, she's my little friend. And we say hi to each other.
My wife, ladies and gentlemen. So keep that in mind when you're leaving your 5-star review. This is my wife. She's fantastic.
Oh, thank
So
you.
please don't hurt her feelings with a negative review. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Don't make me go sit in the corner and cry because you gave us a negative review.
Right.
Please.
Yeah. And of course, for those of you watching right now, please continue to do so.
Yes.
And if you're listening and you'd like to watch us and just stare at my wife the whole time, which is what I try to do, you can find us on YouTube or Right T on
Yes.
as well.
And you can subscribe to us.
Yes.
And you can like our videos.
And is it on YouTube? You turn on notifications, and then every time we upload,
Yeah.
you
You can get notified. Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the best way to do it, because if we put something in the description that trips the YouTube algorithm, it doesn't block you, but it it's called shadow banning.
It makes it harder to find you.
Right. So, yeah, if you like what we do and you like watching and listening, yeah, hit the subscribe and then turn on your notifications.
I hope they don't shadow ban us for this episode.
I don't know why they shadow ban a lot of
But
stuff.
that's why we use Brighteon as well.
Right, exactly.
Yes, they
Because
do not shadow ban.
They do not. That is a free speech
Mhm.
platform, as is it's a Parler.
Parler.
It's also contends to also be a non-shadow banning type of social media as well.
Mhm.
So
Down with the free speech.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, I guess if you got anything else, we can start signing off. We hope that wherever you are, everybody, that you are safe, healthy, and most importantly of all, happy.
sending lots of love and positive energy your way.
Of course. It's as we record this, it's the end of July, beginning of August. So we're in the heat of the summer, but it's going to be over pretty soon. And I don't know what the future holds, but hopefully it's good.
Let's hope so. We need some goodness. But remember, it's what you make of it. It'll be good if you make it good.
That's absolutely true. So until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Syrian. Have enjoyed messing up my own close of the show here. I've been joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.